Indiana, I want to start off by saying congratulations on such an amazing film. I don't think I've seen a horror film for quite such a long time that has left the audience in such suspense, but also kept you on the edge of your seat for as long as this film did. So, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
So I guess this is a question for both of you. I don't know, Indiana, you wrote the film, so I guess this one's directed at you, actually. Where did the idea for the film come from for you in the first place to sit down and work on the screenplay?
Well, usually previously when we've made short films and everything, it's been, that kind of organic way where you have a certain interaction, or you see something that sparks an idea. This was definitely not anything close to that. We knew we wanted to make a feature, but we knew that we didn't have a lot of money to do it. And we knew that we wanted to work with these two brilliant actors, Brendan Rock and Jordan Cowan, who we'd worked with previously. So basically, I just set myself a writing challenge of, okay, we want to do a feature, keep the budget really low. What if we write the film to a particular budget in mind and around these two actors? So it's kind of like, okay, one room, two actors. What can you do? It was kind of one of those writing exercises. So I tossed around lots of different ideas, different locations, and just kind of looked at what would be the most interesting dynamic when you have, a young woman, Jordan Cowan, and an older guy, Brendan Rock, together in the room, and what comes of that, what naturally, as an audience member, tensions arise, and how can you flip those, and all that kind of stuff. So it was not organic at all. It was a very restrictive writing exercise, but I actually really liked it because you kind of can't get overwhelmed by all these different possibilities and ideas. You just have to be really practical about it from the get-go.
Joe, I guess this one's for you. What was it? You and Indiana have been working together for quite a long time now. What was it that made you guys decide this is the right time to do a feature film?
Well, we had made a couple of short films in a row, and we were lucky enough with a short film that we made with Brendan, that also had Brendan in it. We went over to America. We went to the Austin Film Festival, and we just got super inspired watching lots of really interesting films there. And they had a lot of kind of classed as micro-budget films by first-time filmmakers. And there's a filmmaker called Trey Edward Schultz, who we watched he had a premiere of a movie there, and he was talking about his first film, and he had kind of got it together himself initially, and that one had his family in it. Some of his family were incredible actors, and we went home and we watched that, and we were just really inspired to do that. We then shot the next short film with both Brendan and Jordan, called The Recordist, and we were kind of just editing that together, and we had kind of continuously in the background been still talking about that idea of doing a contained lower budget film, and we were just loving how that film was coming together because of their performances. And I guess it really gave us relative confidence that because of them, we just felt people were reacting well to, they were just really engaged by their performances. So we thought, if we can do a very performance-led film that really relied on those actors, we had the confidence that they're really interesting to watch. So we kind of dove in from there. Working with them to a smaller capacity really inspired us to go further, and we knew that they'd be game for a big challenge, which they were. Lucky for us.
Indiana, we have a lot of screenwriters who listen to this show, so I guess this one is for those screenwriters who listen. When you're at film school, you're often told don't write a screenplay with actors in mind because you restrict yourself. How did you find that exercise of writing a screenplay with actors in mind, but also working to all the restrictions that you were mentioning before? Did you find it an easy task, or was it a difficult task?
Well, as long as you're not writing for Tom Cruise, then your film will probably never get made. Because, if you're shooting for but it's like, if it's people that you've worked with before, and, these are two local actors who we'd met previously on another two short films. Brendan we worked with twice before. So we really had that rapport with them, and like Joe said, we knew that we would be able to get them on board and they'd be really enthusiastic about the project. So to me, it was a strength writing for these guys, these two actors for this project, because I think it also just cut out a lot of anxiety around casting as well. Casting is everything in a film, and when you know you've got these two amazing actors already on board, it kind of just goes, okay, that part's taken care of. We know we've got these two really solid actors who work really well together, and that's controllable, and that's in our sphere of control. So that I really enjoyed the kind of the challenge of what can we create with these two people. I think it's one of those things that when you have, you want to write a script, it's kind of overwhelming if you don't have one particular idea in mind. Where do you start? So giving yourself these restrictions is actually a wonderful place to start if you don't already have a spark of an idea. So it really narrows down what you can do, but you can be as creative as possible within those restraints. So it's difficult, but I also found it quite enjoyable, and I think it will help me with the next script and the next script, because it's a bit of a muscle that you can exercise in terms of restraint when you're writing. I enjoyed it, but it was hard.
And it was also like, as not the writer, it was also a really interesting process too, because Indiana, she's the writer, she's writing it. I don't want to confuse that, but she's very open with the process with all of us. So obviously we're constantly talking because we know we're going to direct it together. But in this case, we spoke to Jordan and Brendan about it before there was a script. There was a draft of the script, and then when we were like, yeah, we're going to pull the trigger on this, we started having conversations with them, and we'd kind of meet up, every couple of weeks and just chat about it, and then Indy would go off and make changes based on those conversations. So that part was actually it was great having the actors on from early. So it's just all part of the process.
Joe, what was your first reaction when you read the script in full, and was that intensity that we see on the screen, was that there from the very early drafts of this script?
It was definitely there. It was super intense. I was just so excited. We just love these kind of films. I kind of read 3 different scripts in a row, just early versions of them. But as Indy was saying, as part of this process of one location and these 2 actors, she kind of threw around a couple of different ideas, and those ones were really interesting as well. But this one really stuck out as, I know it sounds messed up, but this one, the most fun to do because of its darkness. It just felt like a really interesting tone to play with that we knew the actors would have lots of fun with. We knew it would be a massive challenge through the entire process, which it was. But I was very inspired and exciting to engage with something so dark.
So, Indiana, tell us a little bit about what the shoot itself was like. With that intensity in mind, was it a difficult shoot to work with the actors with, or how did the actual shoot go for you?
Well, it's a funny thing because everyone's a little bit shocked when they meet Brendan and Jordan in real life, because they're quite intense in the film, and in real life they're the complete opposite. They're both total larrikins, and so that definitely lightened up the shoot a bit, because in between takes and things everyone's mucking about, and the thing that's probably was the most difficult about it was the fact that you're in a single location, in a very small location in the dark for such a long time. Like, normally when you're doing a shoot, you'll spend a few days at a certain location, then you move somewhere else, and some things are indoors, some things are outdoors, and you kind of get that variety, which comes with its own issues. And whilst this was great because it was really controllable, it was a great controllable environment, and we could leave all of our gear there every day and get the most out of every shoot, so we weren't packing up and trucking things everywhere. It did drive you a little crazy to be in the dark that long in a really small space, day in, day out, and put on top of that, the backdrop of COVID. We had the shoot, I think it was like the first week of pre when we moved into the studio, we all immediately got shut down because of COVID scare in South Australia, and then everyone had to go home for a week and everything had to be delayed, and so yeah, there were certainly challenges around shooting in a single location, but we had such a lovely crew and such a lovely cast that everyone kind of kept their spirits high, which was good.
Do you think that filming in the dark and filming in the location like that, do you think that added to the claustrophobic feel that the film has?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That was definitely the intention. It was, again, in that reverse engineering something that's hopefully achievable at a lower budget. Written into the script was, this section is lit by the lantern that Patrick's holding, and that was the intention. It's darkness is kind of the cheapest way of, adding
tension
to a scene is that whole your imagination. Hopefully, if it's executed correctly, your imagination is the most, an audience's imagination, if they're engaged, is the most powerful tool you have theoretically. So in reality, it's just someone holding a lantern, so it's cheap and fast to shoot, so we could really jump ahead with the schedule. But that's right, the hope is that it adds to the claustrophobia, changes up the space, and really adds to the unknown of what's going on.
Yeah, and in combination with sound, I think it was really important on this film, where it came to life when Duncan Campbell, our sound designer, started to work his magic on it, because it's a dark room isn't creepy until there's a creak. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things in like cinema language where you start to invent the worst case scenario in your mind when all that sound is involved. So that's another thing that we knew that we could. On a low budget, invest a lot of time and love into in post-production to make the film feel much bigger and grander than it actually was in reality.
Great. So I know we're running out of time very, very quickly, so I'll ask this last question as a two-parter for both of you. What was it like taking the film to Tribeca? What was that experience like? And what would you like to say to everybody out there who are about to sit down and watch this film in cinemas in Australia?
Tribeca was one of the coolest experiences we've ever had. We were really relieved when we found out that we'd been accepted and that it was going to have its premiere there, because so many people had worked on this film and we'd called in so many favours, and our crew had just worked super hard, so we wanted as many eyes to see the film as possible and see their hard work. So that was great, having that relief, but the experience of being in New York City, the festival's massive. It's really about the filmmakers. They really look after you at that festival, and there are so many different events on and different films you can go and see. It was a super, super exciting time, but also sickeningly nerve-wracking because you've never shown the film publicly before. You have no idea what the reaction's going to be. Are people going to hate it? So it was kind of like this dual feeling of like, yay, we're here, but also,
I think there's now an extension of that with the film coming out, which is that excitement and validation for the crew and the cast who put in so much hard work at people getting to see it and experiencing it in a cinema. We're so excited to have that opportunity for people to see it in a cinema, and we really hope that people and enjoy the film and
talk about it.
Yeah, it's hopefully it's a good conversation starter, and we're just so excited for people to see all the hard work that a small group of people did over a long period of time in the dark in a small box.